How do we build an infrastructure, leadership infrastructure in the movement that is such that is able to draw in comrades from different respects and different generations to get lead the organization? Because it doesn't mean when I'm young I'm necessarily progressive. It also doesn't mean when I'm old I'm automatically progressive. We've seen some of our comrades who claim to have been in exile, who do worse things now in the new dispensation. So that party interest doesn't create instability. I think maybe those are some of the things that we need to speak about. Those are some of the things that at the GNU level, political parties should have agreed on what then will ensure stability. By that I mean majority political parties in parliament can decide to pass a motion of no confidence onto a sitting president. After sitting a factional discussion, they can bring it to parliament and legitimize that decision. So it means the state is not properly insulated against uncontrolled party influence, and that we must speak about. So some of these instabilities and these challenges
that abuse power because of numbers.
We can abuse power because of numbers, the arrogance of numbers. Even where the ANC is today, to an extent, is because of the arrogance of numbers in the movement. It's more about interests. It's more about positioning. Because in the movement, we have got two types of comrades. In any movement, two types of comrades. Those who are there for the genuine revolution, or the genuine struggle for people. And then those who are there because the movement is their only form of survival. So until this NGC that we are going to starts to speak about how to limit delegation into the 2027 conference, then we'll be able to produce the finest of comrades. We are saying, why did the ANC not form a genuine alliance with MK party as well as the EFF? But the idea which I want to refute there is the point that comrades want to make, that or want to behave as if being black party suggests progressiveness. No, doesn't necessarily mean that. The MKP and the EFF might sound progressive, at least in terms of what they say. But what they do and how we observe them might be different. So comrades must not want to make or create the impression that these parties were our natural allies. The ANC doesn't have natural allies outside of the alliance. So, and now we can also see the EFF as well as the MKP now, they are going towards paralysis. They were kind of starting to paralyze themselves. And
welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
Peace in Pan-Africanism to all my African brothers and sisters from all around the world. Welcome back to King Said So. I'm your host, Kagiso Tlongwane. Host is in Jiva Sono, and we're back at it again with another one. And today we're just having a conversation. We're just relaxed. I'm with my friends. I'm bringing my friends in the studios. You guys will be seeing them coming rapidly, discussing things that has to do with life, with politics, and just everything in general that's happening in South Africa. Today I've got an old friend, young man that grew up. We grew up together in a Greater Number 5. As I was working there, that's where we met each other. My lord, can you introduce yourself to the public of King Said So, the global universe, the international universe of King Said So?
No, thank you very much, King, and also let me take this opportunity and greet your followers, those who are listening to your studio and those who are also learning a lot from the content that you produce. And also thanks for also having me here on your studio this afternoon. I'm also looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, it's been long, eh?
Yes,
We've been trying to organize this for 3-4 months trying. But everything happens in good timing.
Yes.
I think when things don't happen sometimes. Now I don't like forcing things. So when they happen so natural and so easy. But for people who don't know you, who are you? Where are you from? Where were you born? What are you doing?
Yeah. No, I'm Thato, known by Thato. My surname is Careskill. And on Facebook, on social media, I call myself Thato Careskill.
Yeah. Okay.
So what happened is at university, I used to have a friend who was from Zim.
Okay.
So he couldn't really pronounce the surname Careskill.
Careskill, yes.
So, and then he would say Careskill.
Yeah.
So, because of that pronunciation, and then later on, then it evolved into Careskill.
Yeah.
So, and then some of my friends that even took it further to actually call me Scarce Skill.
Yes, of course. Yes.
I don't really know what was scarce or what's the skill that was scarce, which I was bringing to the group.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm Thato born and bred in Kimberley. I started my schooling in St. Peter's Primary School in number 5.
Yeah.
And then I went for my high schooling in Thato High School.
Yeah.
That's where I completed my grade 12 at Thato High School.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to my schooling, I think I was one of the learners that did very well.
I remember. I remember, yes.
I did extremely well. I was quite comfortable in the mathematics and the sciences.
Yes.
So, and obviously I would be one of those who would often be in prize givings, would also always be called to be either in the top 10, and also receive awards and certification for merit for doing well at school. So I was that kind of a learner at school, especially in high school. And then, also like, ordinary young people in number 5 in Kasi, we grew up with little fortune, or we didn't really have the necessary financial strength and means. So part of our upbringing necessitated that we sometimes try to make means in order to survive. Why I'm bringing this point is important because from the age of 14, 15 years, I think at that time I was still in grade 9, which was often called standard 7. So I started working at the fruit and veg market. So I'm coming from number 5 Makapane Street. So between Makapane and Magoda, they by the St. Paul's Church. So there used to be a very strong fruit and vegetable market there.
Yes.
So at that age, I used to work there, help the owner of the fruit and veg market do the fruit and the vegetable packets. Now, why is that history important? It's because now that center was not only ground for me to grow, but also some of the guys or the comrades who were quite active in the branch and even in the province. They would ordinarily converge at that point to talk the politics, to reflect on the politics.
Okay.
So as and when I'm busy with, helping this guy in the fruit and veg market, and I'm also exposed silently to the conversations that I had within or at my disposal. So I would hear the guys at that age, 14, 15 years, speak about politics, speak about the African National Congress, speak about the South African Communist Party, speak about the YCL. So over time, then I started to develop interest because now I would also, because I would, be enticed by hearing all of these words. What is the revolution? These guys are speaking about revolution. These guys speak about transforming the lives of the people. In between the guys would speak about factionalism. And then I would really develop interest in that process. So and then later after school, I think that was around 2011, 2012. Later after school, then I started to now join and become actively involved in the politics. That's now when I started taking up membership. My first ever organization to join was the Young Communist League, which is the youth wing of the South African Communist Party.
Yes.
Because the guys who have brought me into the politics, it's a guy called, obviously with apologies to him, Aubrey Makabe is currently the ANC branch secretary. So at that time, the guys were also quite active in the YCL as well as the South African Communist Party. So, and also my introduction and my induction into politics started at that level, the South African, the Young Communist League.
Which is a good foundation, actually.
Yes. So that's now when we started to learn the theory of the organization. That's how we started to understand the movement. And then we also started to learn what we call the Progressive Youth Alliance, which is affectionately referred to as the PYA, which has got the Young Communist League, the African National Congress Youth League, COSAS, SASCO. And then at the basic level, we were then taught that when we are in the community level, we need to be involved in the Young Communist League as well as the ANC Youth League.
Yes.
But then when we get to university as well as institutions of higher learning, our primary focus then became the South African Students Congress, which was SASCO.
Yeah.
So later on, I joined SASCO.
Yeah.
And then during the early days.
Yeah.
Of the Solpla. So I'm just fast forwarding now. So I became active in the Young Communist League, and I also became active in the ANC Youth League, and I also started taking up membership of the ANC at the level of the branch. And then when I got to university, I then took up membership of the South African Students Congress, which is SASCO. And then in the second year of the university, then I became the second student SRC president, Student Representative Council president of the Solplaiki University. So that responsibility was then preceded by many other activism around community politics. That's why you say at some point we had interaction at Tsosolosh. So our interest in Tsosolosh and what Tsosolosh was doing emanated from the consciousness of understanding why is it important to be part and parcel of community politics and also community activism. So that's how we gained interest. So when we saw what Tsosolosh is doing at that time, so that was around 2014, 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So that was long before I became as president of Solplaiki University. So already the consciousness was built at that time. Then Solplaiki University then became another, maybe like a launching pad into even the provincial politics, because it was the only university in the province. So ordinarily, as SRC president, you become a stakeholder for many other organizations. So ordinarily, I would be invited to sometimes speak on different meetings of different political organizations. And then sometimes I will also be part and parcel of the provincial politics because of the responsibility that I have at the level of the university. And then we moved on, and then I started leading the Young Communist League as the district chair. I'm the former district chair of the Young Communist League. For the Kimberley district. In the Communist Party, it's called the Kimberley district, but in the YCL, it's called Paxley district. It was named after one of the former leaders of the YCL, Comrade Paxley. So I was the district chair of the YCL, which was also now a good foundation for us in the politics, because what happened at that time, the South African Communist Party, led by Comrade Dr. Norman Shushu as a provincial secretary, as well as Comrade Maruping Lekwene, who is the current chair of the South African Communist Party. So what the Communist Party used to do was to call joint PEC meetings. So as a district chair of the YCL, I then become an ex-officio member into the provincial committee of the YCL. So because now I was a sitting provincial committee member of the YCL, so the Communist Party, the SACP, when it calls its PEC meetings, it will always be extended to the provincial committee of the YCL. So those opportunities were also political schooling, because we would have members from the Central Committee, which is the National Executive Committee of the party, but we call it the Central Committee of the South African Communist Party. So to come and give inputs, to come and give us a reflection of where the politics are in the country, what is the direction that the ANC needs to take, what is the direction that the South African Communist Party needs to take. So in the process, and then we were also learning, because that's when we started to understand these things. That's when we started to learn what is the National Democratic Revolution. We learned all of these things in the Communist Party, in the YCL. So that's how one came about being part and parcel of the politics, and that's why today we can at least be conversant in somewhat what might sometimes be quite complicated conversations in the politics, even in society, because I think the ANC-led alliance, the ANC, the South African Communist Party, have given us that foundation. And then later on, I started also becoming quite actively involved in the Youth League. And then during the disbandment season of the Youth League, when we started to create some stability, or when the ANC wanted to bring stability in the ANC, then I was appointed as an RCPC member, the Regional Congress Preparatory Committee. Because there were no structures of the Youth League at that time. There was no National Executive Committee, there were no PCs, there were no RCs. So the ANC Youth League then identified young people at the different levels of organization. So at the level of the branch, there will be branch task teams. At the level of the region, there will also be regional task teams. So I was then one of the young people who were identified at that time to come and constitute or even take the region to its congress. And it was that congress that then elected Kagiso Sonyoni as the chairperson of the ANC Youth League in Francis Bar. That was part and parcel of the preparatory committee that led together with that generation. And then later on, I then also became a member of the provincial task team of the ANC Youth League when the tenure of the previous PEC came to an end. Then they were dissolved, they were disbanded, then a PTT was appointed, of which I then became a member of the PTT. And then last year in November, in Kuruman, JTG, I was then elected to be a member of the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC Youth League. And then later on, I was then also appointed to be a member of the PWC, Provincial Working Committee of the ANC Youth League in the province. And I'm also given responsibilities to work with political education. So in the process, we also work together with the African National Congress in developing, developing programs that seeks to speak into political education. Raise the need to raise the entire discussion around building consciousness in the movement, And you might also know that Thabo Mbheki, the former president, in numerous occasions have spoken about the declining quality of membership, of cadreship of the African National Congress. And one of the ingredients
the declining of the quality
of membership.
Okay.
He's made the point that for the past couple of years, the quality of membership of the ANC have been declining. And from research that is there at our disposal and also from submission that have been made, part of the qualifying indicators of this is that political clarity and ideology amongst members have really started to decline. Less of our comrades compared to before are in a position to can articulate and even defend the African National Congress because we have not done much in developing conscious cadres of the organization. So as a consequence of which, the quality of membership has then declined in the organization. So that's where I am. I'm now serving as a member of the Provincial Executive Committee of the ANC Youth League and also PWC member responsible for political education in the province.
We've got thank you so much, Thato, for that brief, in-depth explanation of how you started in politics. And I want to jump in something that I didn't think that we will speak about, but the stance of the Communist Party. The stance of the Communist Party, Solima Paila, coming up and saying, listen, we've been fighting with the ANC, trying to get our alliance into, even grounds and everything, but we are not given a fair ear. And as the Communist Party, we have seen them participate in by-elections, even though doing poorly in some instances, but performing and competing against the alliance partner, the ANC, nevertheless. And one would ask them, or ask them himself, what does that mean for the future of the Communist Party itself? Can the Communist Party even get one seat? Can the Communist Party even perform without the ANC? Does the Communist Party even have the financial capability, to go on the ground and compete with the other, never mind the ANC, the other political party, actually say EFF and all of those people, because those are the people that they will be fighting scrap to get voters from?
Look, Mr. King, maybe I must first start by saying that the Communist Party is an independent political organization.
Yes.
It's a party on its own.
Okay.
That's why we always refer to it as the party.
Yes.
And the party and the ANC are independent organizations.
Okay. two separate entities.
Yes, what brings them together is the commonality in the struggle against the oppressive forces. So that what becomes the center of the unity of the tripartite alliance. Tripartite now also bring in a COSATU. And also, so it means the party can take its own decisions outside of the ANC. It doesn't need the ANC for it to take its decisions. The same way with like in the ANC, the highest decision-making body in the ANC is the National Executive Committee of the ANC, led by Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa as well as Fikile Mbalula. And then we also have the highest decision-making body in between Congress of the party would be the Central Committee of the party, which is led by Comrade Soli Mapaila, like you said, as well as Comrade Blade Nzimande. So the NEC of the ANC takes decisions on behalf of all ANC members in between conferences. The Central Committee of the party takes so the last Congress, the Special Congress of the party. Now this one takes decision in between congresses of the party.
Yes.
So I've taken a decision on contesting elections outside of the alliance. So as a member of the party and a member of the YCL, there's nothing we can do. It's a decision of the party. It just becomes a question of what then do we do as members who have got dual membership and who love both organizations. And I think at a more subjective level, I would say the party to an extent might have done us wrong because it puts us in a position to choose between the ANC as well as the party.
From my research, 90% of Communist Party members are ANC members.
Yes, they are also ANC members. So
90%. I mean, that's a big. If you said 50, it was, and this is from Solomon Payne himself saying almost the majority of Communist Party membership are ANC members. And for me, it like you say, puts you between a hard and a rock place. Because there's only one cross you can put on the ballot paper.
So the Communist Party took its decisions, and there's nothing we can do about. There's nothing we can do about that. Only thing that we can do is to then look at it at the practical level. What then does it mean for us? Because like I said, now I'm a PC member of the ANC Youth League. The twin task of the ANC Youth League is that the Youth League must champion the interests of young people and also rally all young people behind the banner of the ANC. So I am charged with a responsibility to rally all young people behind the banner of the ANC. So we are remaining hopeful that the party will maybe reconsider or maybe look at different modalities on this decision. But if it doesn't happen, it's still a decision of the party. But what the only challenge also, apart from what then happens at the practical level, is the party ditches the ANC at a time when the ANC is now battling with an existential crisis. When the ANC is losing electoral support. When majority of the MDM the Mass Democratic Movement organizations, are actually losing legitimacy in our communities. And where the state capacity to get deliver even the basic and the necessary services is now challenged. You know, the ANC in its current form is faced with so many problems, and the party leaves the ANC when the ANC is almost at its weakest. You know, it just becomes a bit of a problem. So, as an ordinary comrade, I cannot go against the decision of the party. It's the decision of the party. It's just for me to take a decision as to who I will be voting for, but hoping that maybe the modalities will change. But it was quite an unfair decision towards the ANC under the circumstances. I was saying to comrades when we talk, look, the party has always been seen as this component of the alliance that injects into the ANC quality leadership that understand the ideological underpinnings of the ANC and the struggle. So by implication, for the duration that the alliance has been, the ANC should by now have had a significant portion of comrades of the party within its ranks. What I'm saying is the ANC's decisions should not by now have been different from the decisions of the Communist Party, because we expect that the ANC we expect the Communist Party to inject into the ANC cadres who cadres who have got a socialist orientation. Cadres would always want to advocate for socialism, for communism. So now the question is, if the party says today that the ANC is no longer on par with what was otherwise the ideals of the formation of the alliance, then the question is, has the party really done its best in injecting into the ANC quality leadership? Because the expectation, like you said, that about 90% of the members of the ANC are members of the party. Are they really members of the party? Are they, when they are in the ANC, pushing for the interest of the party? Then the question is, where did we go wrong? So in part, the party should also take a bit of responsibility here. And then also, Mr. King, when we were coming up in the Communist Party and the YCL, we were taught the three laws of dialectics, converting quantity into quality.
Okay.
So that becomes the responsibility of each and every leader of the party and the ANC, that after recruiting members, these members must be taught and trained so that they become quality leadership. The first law of dialectics.
Yes.
We convert quantity into quality. The other one is negations of the negations. I will not go into, but the one that is quite interesting is the unity and the struggle of opposites. In recent literature, it's called cooperation and contestation. Why am I mentioning this? Because it was the South African Communist Party in Morogoro, the 1969 Congress, that said, when South Africa assesses its polity at that time, it said that we are living with the oppressor, we are living with the enemy. Unlike in other colonies where the oppressors left. With us, we are living with the oppressor. Then the South African Communist Party introduced a lens with which we look at our politics called colonization of a special type, CST. So South Africa was now viewed as the colonization of a special type, meaning that now that we are together with capital in the same setting, or with the owners of capital, or the oppressors, where we agree with them, we must unite. But where we don't agree with them, we must struggle against them. Meaning, where we agree with our enemy, we must cooperate. Where we don't agree, we must contest. So it's the unity and the struggle of opposite. So for the longest of time, that has been the relationship of the ANC, of the progressive force, as well as the oppressors, up until now. So that has never changed. So now the question is, if today the African National Congress in its form takes decisions that are maybe liked by opposition or the oppressive forces, let's say, for an example, the ANC maybe endorses maybe whatever happens to the rand, because at that time becomes the most fiscally sound decision. And then, but because it is the opposition maybe that comes with it, and it happens to be right, and then the ANC agrees with it, what would be wrong for the ANC to agree with? Because historically, our relationship as progressive forces, given to the ANC by the Communist Party, was that one of unity and struggle. Where we agree with them, we unite. Where we disagree with them, we struggle or we contest them. So the party has never in the years given us even a time frame to say up until when should this relationship be with capital. So for the party today to come and say that the ANC has for the longest of time been in bed with opposition, they should also in part take responsibility to what have became of the politics of the African National Congress. Therefore, ditching the ANC at this time becomes quite an unfortunate decision.
Very, very interesting views there, T. Very interesting views. Now, the breaking point, I believe, from what Soli is saying, is this decision of going with the GNU, specifically going into bed with Freedom Front Plus, the Democratic Alliance, and he says, listen, that is their name. That's how I read their name. They say, no, man, this is now a betrayal of the revolution, and it pushed them to that. When you look at the GNU, can't even pass budget, can't agree on international policy, can't agree on domestic policies. One is saying BE, other one is saying no BE. The DA is a total opposite of what the ANC is. The Secretary General then names it as a technical maneuver. What is your views according to how this GNU is operating right now in South Africa?
Of course, we are not happy about how the GNU is operating, and I think we are yet to see. We are yet to see what can come out of this GNU. But I think maybe let me emphasize, Mr. Hlungwane. I saw many members of the African National Congress having a negative sentiment after the decision of the GNU, but particularly because the Democratic Alliance was part of the GNU as well as the Freedom Front Plus.
Yes.
And there was also a sentiment that was saying, why did the ANC not form a genuine alliance with MK party as well as the EFF? But the idea which I want to refute there is the point that comrades want to make, that or want to behave as if being black party suggests progressiveness. No, doesn't necessarily mean that. The MKP and the EFF might sound progressive, at least in terms of what they say, but what they do and how we observe them might be different. So comrades must not want to make or create the impression that these parties were our natural allies. The ANC doesn't have natural allies outside of the alliance. So, and now we can also see the EFF as well as the MKP now, they are going towards paralysis. The organizers are starting to paralyze themselves, and I can now imagine what could have happened if they were inside of the GNU.
Well, you don't have to imagine, because you've got the DA, and now you're seeing the clear picture.
No, I understand.
Are you in any shape or form suggesting that an alliance or a coalition with the ANC, EFF, the EFF and the MK, who are small ANCs, could have been in a worse condition than the DA?
No, I'm not suggesting that. But I'm not suggesting.
Or are you saying? Sorry to chip in there, because there's this dynamic that we must also address here, that our people have proven that they are not able to work together. Hence, we have this breakout parties from the mother body. You see it. We saw it with COPE. We saw it with UDM. We saw it with multiple parties that came out of the ANC. Even if we go back to the 60s with the PEC, we saw it. What is wrong with our people working together? Because now I can't see a situation where it can be worse than what it is now. Or maybe you can convince me otherwise. Okay. If EFF was part of the alliance, not alliance, coalition.
Yes.
And you say, let's pass a budget. Do you think the EFF in the GNU would have taken the ANC to court in the GNU, from the GNU, like the DA is doing?
I want to believe that anything is possible.
Okay.
But what I don't want to agree with is that breakaway parties from the ANC are because black people cannot work together. No. Okay. I think it goes beyond that. It is a matter of interest. It's a matter of frustrations. We know when COPE was formed, some comrades were not happy about the outcome of Polokwane. Yes. When how comrade TM was dealt with at that time. And then also the formation of the EFF came after the expulsion of Julius Malema from the ANC. So it's not because black people cannot work together. It's not about that. It's more about interests. It's more about positioning. Because in the movement, we have got two types of comrades. In any movement, two types of comrades. Those who are there for the genuine revolution or the genuine struggle for our people. And then those who are there because the movement is their only form of survival. That's why you find people who cannot survive outside of factions. You find people who always subvert political parties to their preferences because the political parties then become their vehicles of survival. So it's just that organizations must have the ability to can discern as to who are the type of people that we are dealing with at that particular time. But always must have those two types of interests. So, and also back then when there were splinter parties from the movement, like the PAC, it was purely on ideological issues. Comrades who went to form the PAC felt that they wanted the ANC to be predominantly a pan-Africanist organization, while the ANC, out of its own understanding and then also how it viewed things, it wanted to be a nationalist organization, and also the relationship of the ANC with the party, it will be nationalist with socialist features. So comrades were differing around those, and they decided to form their own political party. So it's not because they cannot work together, because working together, I think it's more of an administrative arrangement. And I can't say with confidence that the EFF or the MKP would not have taken the ANC to court. But we have seen many coalitions emanating from the 2021 local government elections, where the ANC agreed with the EFF and the coalitions did not work. So we can't say that when the ANC was in an alliance with the MKP or the EFF, or a coalition or a GNU, that it would have been free of challenges. No, I don't think it's more about that. The challenge that we have here, I think, when the state was formed after 1994, then, and our constitution is not really assisting us in safeguarding the state so much so that party interest doesn't create instability. I think maybe those are some of the things that we need to speak about. Those are some of the things that at the GNU level, political parties should have agreed on what then will ensure stability. By that I mean, majority political parties in parliament can decide to pass a motion of no confidence onto a sitting president. After sitting a factional discussion, they can bring it to parliament and legitimize that decision. So it means the state is not properly insulated against uncontrolled party influence, and that we must speak about. So some of these instabilities and these challenges that are
abuse power because of numbers.
We can abuse power because of numbers, the arrogance of numbers. Even where the ANC is today, to an extent, is because of the arrogance of numbers in the movement. So until a time where we really speak about state insulation, state protection, in order to protect it from party influence, we need to ensure that when we go into legislature or into parliament, elected by the people, what needs to be our driving compass is I am elected by the people. Therefore, my responsibility in parliament must be about protecting the interests of the people, of course, within the framework of the party. But not to timelessly use party numbers to create instability in parliament. So that's what is happening. There's instability, and this potential instability was not agreed upon at the level of the formation of the GNU. So it could be the DA, it could be anyone who can come and create instability in the G. What we need to do, we just need to build state capacity to ensure that we know how to deal with coalitions. I think going forward, more bills and acts of parliament needs to be brought in on how to manage issues of coalitions to ensure that there's stability in government. A president cannot just, at some point you need to curtail the influence of the president. President can wake up one morning, I remove this minister because it's his powers. Of course he will need, out of courtesy, he will have to explain to the public why he does that. But to avoid a situation where president can just do that, we need to really strengthen our governments against all of these instability. Now, as I'm choosing that point, EFF and the MKP, much as they are splinter parties from the ANC, I don't think it's correct to call them Smolanyana ANC. They are not Smolanyana ANC. These are distinct organizations. Yes, these were members who were in the ANC, but they have now their own organizations. They are in their own political parties with their own political party interest. So the ANC must defend itself. And many people would say, why did the ANC not assume a minority government? You will know. As the ANC does not exist for its own sake. It exists to advance the national democratic revolution. So in advancing the national democratic revolution, the first aspect that we need, the first thing that we need to advance the NDR is the state. So the ANC could not have taken opposition benches, because that would even take us far away from us advancing the national democratic revolution. So this, of course, is maybe a strategic setback for the ANC.
Technical maneuver.
Yeah, the tactical maneuvering. So, but lastly, King, I think to an extent I also saw ill discipline amongst members of the ANC. When you go to a national conference and elect an NEC of the ANC, by implication, we are saying this court of comrades that are elected to be the NEC must be able to take decisions on our behalf. Now, what we saw an anomaly. The ANC NEC cells agrees on the GNU. That on the ground, we have a problem with that decision. But we have said the ANC NEC must take decision on behalf of all of us between conferences. But these could be my views.
The views because they are very important. It's very scarce that we hear from ANC cadres from the ground. And not only speaking for party, like you have mentioned the positions, some of the positions that you hold, but speaking as individuals in South Africa, how you feel about what is happening. One of the thorny issues in South Africa is the issue of undocumented, illegal foreigners, small scale business happening in the city corners. In Kimberley, the Pagamile Mabija Street has been taken over by cell phone repair shops. The entire street, I don't know if I still have the video, I'll send you the video, about 27 in Pagamile Mabija. For those who don't know Kimberley, it's a very small street. Pagamile Mabija from Pep Store up until Kospitz, 27 cell phone fixing shops. Somali, Bangladesh, Pakistanis, or whatever you call them. But then we see these outbursts, much for much. You've got Operation Tutula. You've got Hatfall in Northwest. Many smaller organizations that are opening up, that are saying Mabahambe is the main theme. Action SA has joined. The Patriotic Alliance has joined. What is the position for yourself? How do you view these things? And what does the ANC say about this type of things? Must our African brothers who have assisted us during difficult times pack and go? Because what I see is it starts with undocumented, but it laps to no, if you're a foreigner, you can't work because we've got a South African that is unemployed. So at the end, it goes to we don't want foreigners in our space. Because of the hate that we have got from the drugs that have impacted our families and all of these things, the crime and all of those things. I mean, some of the reasons are justified.
Okay, just simple. Where there's a view, where someone fails to lead, there will emanate problems. When I went to the United States in 2016, I remember how I was treated at the customs there. Yeah. It was extremely difficult. I had to go through every check. So that was showing me how other countries take serious the issue of foreigners into their country. So now, as to why South Africa is so easily accessible, poses a significant threat, and I think government must take responsibility.
Wow, really?
Yes, I think government must take serious responsibility on why is it so easy for even people to just go into the country undocumented? how even people end up getting their documentation while they were in the country already after getting in illegally into the country. So these things, they create conflict between the citizens as well as the foreigners. So government really needs to take responsibility on managing all of these things. And also now you find business that also create problems because foreigners are coming into the country desperate for jobs. They take them and exploit them. And now with that exploitation, we end up having we now end up having these situations where our own brothers here at home starts to complain about the foreigner takeover of the jobs. So again, the government is the one that is supposed to create agency and regulate how people are being employed and also who gets to be employed, so that we avoid or even avert this conflict that emanates. So to be honest with you on this one, I think government is not really taking responsibility. You would know, 15 years ago in number 5, in almost every street, you will see a tuck shop. You go to Amakuzene, there was some dance tuck shop. You go to Merane, there was maybe a Mang's tuck shop, you know? And then you go to Navav, there was Park's tuck shop there. Today's, all the tuck shops, or most of them, are taken over by foreign nationals.
95%.
So it means that the municipal bylaws
are not
could
implemented.
not. Maybe if they are there, they were not implemented correctly. And also it means that they were not designed in such a way that they protect local economy to belong to the people. So I think the ANC,
when I read them, they were talking about a radius of 2 to 3 kilometers. That if there's one foreign shop, another one must not be there but they are not implemented.
Those things are not implemented.
They are there. They are there. The bylaws are there. But when you look at and you count how many tuck shops are there,
exactly,
it's heartbreaking.
Exactly, it's very heartbreaking. So, and also I was saying, for an example, we needed maybe a bylaw that would say, in a ward, or a ward must have a maximum of 10 tuck shops. 3 can only be for foreigner, and 7 must be for locals. You need to put in place that legislation, or such a legislation where you protect the interests of your people. But because government is not playing its role, therefore there's going to be conflict. So because of all of these things, that's why you find now Operation Dudula, Hardfall, and many of these other are wanting to occupy the space because no one speaks about that. And also they take advantage of vulnerable South Africans. You know, Joel Netsitenze, one of the senior cadres of the ANC, who had a very good impression on my growth in politics, is referring this to a social tinder that is very flammable. That when you look at the South African setting, so many people unemployed, so many workers frustrated, so many people on drugs, so many people frustrated about drugs, so many illegal foreigners, so many so many conflicts between nationals as well as foreign nationals. So what it says is, when you look at South African setting, it may just require one moment that will set alight that tinder. Fist must fall almost took us there. It actually exposed how in some sectors there's so much conflict, and government or progressive movements are not talking about these things until there is an eruption. And TM always says to us that the South African setting is not different from what has happened in Tunisia at the times of the Arab Spring. It's just going to require that one moment where a very poor person will go into a very protected area, want to sell something, security attacks them, and then the entire country explodes. It's because government have allowed for so many loose ends and not putting in place the necessary legislations to can then regulate. There's nothing wrong about having foreigners in our country, but the question is to what extent is government regulating, you know, and ensuring that there is a sanity and that things are done correctly, and that our South African government can actually account for the number of foreigners that comes into and outside of the country.
Apply the same logic when it comes to healthcare.
Come again?
Apply the same logic as when it comes to healthcare. Let's say the 3 tuck shops, 7 tuck shops. How would we then attack it in that regard?
Look, what we didn't do, and I'm speaking this because I'm coming from the health sector. Now, our health infrastructure was not radically improved and expanded over the years. compared
to match the growth.
Yes, to match
population.
the growth, and to also match especially the burden of diseases. Over time, there's been so many diseases that came up. The black middle class have grown. Now we started to eat unhealthy. We started to now become diabetic, and start to have high blood. So the burden of disease have increased. So as a consequence of, and also now our facilities have not increased. Also adding to that, there's now foreign nationals who are in the country who also expect to receive healthcare from our facilities. So it also, it increases the pressure on our health facilities. So in terms of what needs to happen, government must speak to that. Because I would not want to be hostile to our foreign nationals. Now there's also a debate of whether or not undocumented foreign children can be accommodated in our schools. I think it's a question, it's a sensitive question, but government must apply itself on these things. But as to how first does it protect its own, and also at the same time, how does it minimize conflict between its own and the foreign nationals who are in the country?
Are you saying, like many other countries, South Africa must be patriotic to its citizens first before looking at other visitors? Let me call them visitors.
Yes, I would slightly agree to that, because if it doesn't do that, it then sets up our communities to potential conflict beds. Because you look at how a foreign national is treated or is accessing this and that, while you don't have access to it. It breeds conflict. So the country must be in such a way that it really becomes patriotic to its own. And of course, with where affordability is, that we give to the foreign nationals.
Now I want to jump, T, if you allow me, to 2026. It's gonna be a crazy year. We're looking at the ANC performs quite well in local elections and by-elections in general, because I think ANC is a well-oiled machine in terms of financial resources to compete for one ward, to compete for two wards, and many other political parties cannot match the ANC. And sometimes people are afraid to say the ANC chooses the cadre the community wants, and that is why they win the wards. Now, when it comes to 2026 local elections, the financial resources will be spread throughout the country, so the playground will be evened almost for other political parties to then equally contest other tenure. Number one, when we calculate all the votes of 2026 local elections into percentages, do we see an ANC that is edging closer to 50%, or that is falling behind 40% one more time? And that will give us an indicator for 2029. Or do you see political parties like Maibuye Africa performing well? The small players, the small role players, will the EFF obtain power? Will KwaZulu-Natal still have confidence in Umkhonto Wesizwe? All of those dynamics that are playing into part. And also, which is very important, 55% Democratic Alliance in Western Cape. Will they keep that 5%? Are they going to grow? Are they going to decline? Patriotic Alliance playing a big significant role there in KwaZulu, in the Western Cape.
Look, the performance of the ANC in the by-elections is good, at least at the sentiment level. That psychologically, the ANC, many people still resonate with the ANC. And I think it's good that we're doing well, but it doesn't necessarily translate onto the outcome of our next year's elections. Remember, when we go now into elections, there's many factors that come in. In some wards, there's 2 ballots. In some municipalities, there's 2 ballots. In some, there's going to be 3 ballots. And their democracy is applied to the latter. Even the organization with the least number of votes can get 2 seats in government. Remember, there will be 4 ups through the proportional representativity
ratio. Yes.
And I think it is that dissonance that we don't understand in the African National Congress. Sometimes you would say, but we won the wards. Why are we not getting the
majority seats? Yes.
So there's many of those dynamics. But because these dynamics, the only way for the African National Congress, wishfully now, to have more seats, one is to wish that there's less political parties on the ballot. But it's not the case. Political parties are increasing every day.
In local elections is more.
It's even more. There's also independence in the process.
Because it's regional and all of those
yes.
things. Yeah.
So what the ANC needs to do, and I think the Comrade Zaman is articulating this very well. The ANC must work very hard. Last time, we had our strategic workshop. He said that the current ANC councillors and mayors must at least take the next year before the next local government elections and work hard. Do their best. They've been doing their best for all these years. But he implored them to do even harder and because the only thing that we can do is to build a strong ANC. Because we don't have control over who registers as a political party or not. Even though I've got my own reservations on that, we don't have control over that. What we have control over is to ensure that we give our people the necessary service. We shine. You use the word, let the councillors and the ANC mayors shine. Meaning that let them do earnestly their work so that when we reflect, our people can look this about this ANC councillor has worked, that ANC mayor has worked. So as the ANC, we just need to work on ourselves. And he has gotten a theory, and I think the theory makes sense. Dr. Zamani saw it. He says, the first thing that we must do is to stop the bleeding. He said if the ANC in 2026 is able to get 40% nationally and 49% in the province, then we would have stopped the bleeding. Then that would be the base from which now we can speak about 50%. Yes, all of us want to be in majority, but with how things are happening in the organization,
realistically speaking,
you have to become realistic. So this theory to an extent makes sense. So I think before you even speak about the hope for the ANC to get 50%, the question is, are we even able to retain 40%, which we have nationally, and even in the province, the 49.3%? Are we able to maintain that? So we need to do that, and in order for us to do that, we really need to build a strong ANC. We really need to bring in credible comrades to come and take over, to come and lead the African National Congress, because we are living in a government that is run by legislations. You need councillors or governors who are able to read and interpret legislations. Today you hear that a councillor or an MM or even a CFO is found guilty of failing to implement this and that. Why is that happening? Are our comrades in councils, in senior positions, not aware of the interpretations of the laws that needs to govern even their responsibilities? So we are looking into that. I think the ANC is looking into getting credible comrades, people with credible backgrounds, and also people who are really willing to come and do the work of the ANC in order for us to at least first be stuck at 40%, and then from there we'll be able to go to, because if we can get 40% nationally next year and 49% in the province in 2026, and then in preparation for 2029, that's when we'll speak about 50% and above, because at least by then we would have stopped the bleeding, because we might be aiming for 50% and fall even below 40. It will be even more discouraging.
I say the political system is also our enemy as African people, because it is designed in such a way that every 3-4 years there is an elective conference in a party, so that the breakaway factions can now expose themselves, because now we have to say it's either I'm standing with you or I'm standing. We have to expose who we are voting for, and the big consultation in the ANC is, who is this guy who's going to take over from Cyril Ramaphosa? My prediction, by the way, is that Cyril will step aside by next year before the local elections. That's my prediction. I think for me, I don't think he would want to see himself going into that risk of saying, I want to control the bleeding, or stop the bleeding. What if the bleeding does not stop and the ANC performs even worse under his watch? He will be labeled as the worst president of the ANC forever. No one, even now, if you take anyone, if I take you, I put you in the ANC will not drop 17%, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, so I don't think he would want a further drop, according to me. So now you've got Ufix, Vuta, Mbalula, you've got Mr. Fokon, you've got Paul Mashatile, you've got people lingering on the sides there. Senzo Mtune has been said in the commission that they are also putting up some money to go for the position. They call it the DP position. And you've got Panyaza Lisufi, there could be someone that I'm not even mentioning, without looking at the label of the, the name of the person, the label of, excuse me, of the position. What type of cadre do we want there? What type of cadre do we need to take the ANC, maybe potentially stop the bleeding for 2029? Maybe because, like you say, anything above 40% in 2029 will be a win.
Yes.
But it all begins in 2027.
Look, we need a very brave.
And do we have such a person anyway?
I think we do.
Okay.
In the ANC.
Okay.
I might not have examples, but I think we've got very good quality cadres in the African National Congress. But
agree.
we need someone who will come and unite the African National Congress. And also someone who will come in and realize and recognize that the ANC, when in its current form, or has been for the longest of time, battling with issues of ethnicity. We saw it with people who moved from the ANC to the Patriotic Alliance. We even saw with the voting patterns of the MK. We saw where the MK got support. What is the ethnic grouping of the people in that space? So we really need someone who can come and unite the African National Congress around all of those things. And we also need someone who has really came through the ranks, who understands the organized. But before even we get there, Mr. Hlungwane, allow me to make this point. The Morogoro Conference in 1969 had about 60 or plus comrades, delegates in that conference. But that conference produced high-level synthesis. Even moving into the Cabo Conference in 1985. Even moving into the first conference in the country after the Mbheki. So, but it had only 69. Apart from what was the dynamics in the country at that time, but what that says to us is, even with sub-100 people, the organization is in a position to can produce high-level outcomes or high-level synthesis. So now, and then while we leave that, you go to the Congress of the Chinese Central, the Chinese Communist Party. Not everyone attends that type of a Congress. It's only the advanced people in the communities who attend that conference. Now, in the African National Congress, we can be friends in a faction. And then whether you understand the organization or not, or whether you are a potential defector or not, you can still become a delegate to the conference. And that's where the arrogance of numbers disallow the movement from choosing out of its ranks the best amongst us. That's why maybe a comrade from the Northern Cape, who might be so articulate, have got a vision for the organization, have got what, might not be able to emerge as the president of the SG because provinces with numbers will come and put forward their numbers arrogance, irrespective of the credibility of that comrade. So until this NGC that you are going to starts to speak about how to limit delegation into the 2027 conference, then we'll be able to produce the finest of comrades. You might ask, why is a comrade like Joel Netsitenze not an SG of the ANC? As fine, and of course he's not perfect. He has got his own controversial views, but why don't you have such a comrade? Maybe a comrade like our chairperson in the province. Why don't you have such a person as a president, as an SG, as a national chairperson of the ANC? It's because sometimes...
Which chairperson?
Comrade Zamani Sol.
Oh, okay.
Yes, maybe like a councillor, Comrade Zamani Sol, as articulate, young, strong as he is. Why can't a person of his stature be an SG of the ANC?
The most educated premier in South Africa currently. The most educated.
The most educated premier for that matter. Why can't such a caliber of cadreship, him just as an example, and many others, why can't they become leaders of the ANC? It's because of the way we have structured our conferences. In my view, if it was according to me, branches should apply to the region with a list of potential delegates. That list must be assessed at the level of the region. The region must take these numbers to the province. The province must decide who of these must be part and parcel of the delegation to a conference. The PC must then look at all the names that comes from regions and then draw up a provincial delegation to the conference. I think in that process, we will be able to can choose amongst us the finest of comrades to can lead the ANC. And maybe we get to that point.
But proportionally, you will still have the other provinces bringing bigger numbers. You can't bring equal numbers.
We can decide that each province must bring 10, or maybe each province must bring 50 delegates. We can have that approach. We can debate that in the NGC. And we say that these comrades, we look into qualifications. We look into experience. We look into criminality issues. We look into all of those things. We look into standards. We look into all of them. Then we draw up a list of the finest within our ranks. Then you will see that many of us will not even be worthy of delegation status in a conference. Because once we have all of these numbers, and we've seen, we are taught traditionally that when delegates goes to a conference, they must come back to the branch and report back. That practice is no longer happening in the movement. Regional leadership is no longer even giving feedback to branches. So that shows you how the entire structure and culture of the organization have eroded over time. And in the process, the organization is unable to get the best out of the best to lead the organization. So until this NGC speaks to how to structure the next conference, maybe we might decide in the NGC, comrades, amongst us, no one is able to lead. Maybe we need to go and take back Thabo Mbheki. Say, come take care. Just for an example. It's not my view. You see? Or we might decide, no, Khalima can't take care. You come and go. Assist us for this period while we are renewing the movement. So it depends on the type of discussions that comes up at the level of the ANC.
But why can't that call also be made outside the ranks of the ANC? When Mokoeng said God told him that he will be the next president. Why can't we respect that?
We can even do that. We can even look outside of ourselves. We can't just look within ourselves. We can look at people who have led large corporations who've been CEOs.
Motsepe.
You know, maybe someone like Motsepe. If we can put together a basis on why him, we can invite him. We can say, come take care of the movement.
I'm available, comrades. If you need
we can even say King Khan.
Yes.
But until we are unable to get into that type of thinking, we will not be able to can produce.
So T, you are saying if we don't fix our path, our paving to the conference, whatever is going to happen at the conference will not produce a good product. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If we're unable to have honest conversations going forward, if we're unable, we will not. I don't think we will be able to can mitigate. We really need to become honest about what is happening. We need to really look amongst ourselves and say, are you worthy of leading this organization?
Where is young people in this conversation as we are getting to the closing remarks?
Yes.
Where is young people? Why can't young people lead this organization? Are the likes of Colin Malachi? Is there more worthy cadres that can take this party forward? Or is it a thing of wait your turn type of a thing? We've got people in front of you. Wait your turn. Your turn will come when you are 50, when you are doing and when we are seeing what young president in their 30s can do in the African continent. Are young people anywhere close to that conversation?
Look, what needs to happen? Well, what needs to happen? We need to have an amalgam of leadership. Those who are credible, but have been in the ANC structures to lead. And then you also need a mid-generation, 40 to 45, 50 years, to also lead, to be part and parcel of the collective that leads the ANC. Then we have the likes of Suko Kotlimpi, Non-Reba Mhlauli, and many other comrades who have came from our ranks who are still very youthful. So, again, it's a question of how do we, at the level of the NGC this year, speak to the issue of leadership and who must come up? And how do we build an infrastructure, leadership infrastructure in the movement that is such that is able to draw in comrades from different respects and different generations to get lead the organization? Because it doesn't mean when I'm young, I'm necessarily progressive. It also doesn't mean when I'm old, I'm automatically progressive. We've seen some of our comrades who claim to have been in exile. who do worse things now in the new dispensation. You've seen young people whom we've given power who even become even more worse. So it's not a question of young necessarily progressive. We need to look even amongst ourselves. I may be young but like corruption and many other wrong things.
Or reckless.
You also become reckless in the process. So it is a question of how does the organization then build internally an infrastructure of leadership that can draw in different people from different spaces and different generations to can take over the revolution.
You have said a mouthful, my friend. You have said a mouthful, and I agree with you. I wish this podcast can reach the cadres. The cadres are watching King Said So. I wish it can reach someone with an ear, because if the ANC does not fix that, because I think the ANC is sitting at the keyboard, but maybe it's down to a last chance.
Yes.
Yeah, you're sitting at the last chance. You get it wrong at 2027. It might be irreparable for a period of 15 more years, where the next generation will find a completely broken gasket and gearboxes in a feeling, and they will be just pushing this thing instead of driving it. So, any last words in motivating the ANC cadres, South Africans at large, in the situations that we find ourselves in right now? We are going even to the festive seasons. People are planning for getting into early November, Black Fridays and festive whatever.
Yeah, no. The whole country is planning for the festive season. As comrades, we are planning for our national congress. Our ANC Youth League NGC, which was in Kimberley, have resolved on an early congress. So from the 14th to the 17th of December, the ANC Youth League will be sitting its national congress in Limpopo. So you will see obviously on social media that much of the ANC Youth League leaders are speaking about that, because that's our preoccupation at the moment. And so young people must be aware of these things. Of course, there might be contestation in conference, but we are going to solidify some of the decisions that we took in our National General Council, and then we'll also elect a leadership there in that Congress. And then what I also want to say in this studio is that young people have taken a conscious decision not to vote, because they think that not voting or not taking part in the voting process is the closest thing that they can do to hurt the African National Congress or to hurt whatever organization that they were supporting before. But the danger with that is our polity at the moment. The only way we can constitute government or parliament is through a voting process. So if I can imagine, if a significant number of eligible voters decide not to vote, we might end up with a situation where maybe nearly 10 or 5% of our population go and vote. And once you vote in 2026, you are electing political parties. And then those political parties will elect for us a mayor, will elect for us a mayoral committee that is going to appoint a municipal manager. So whether or not people vote, it will even affect their lives. So it's not a good decision not to vote. So my submission, my words of encouragement to young people in the province and beyond is that they need to take part in community activities. When political parties call meeting, they must attend and ask questions. When government calls meetings, when government have got engagement, they must attend this engagement. They must ask the relevant questions. They must take informed decisions when they vote in 2026, when they even vote in 2029, because not voting is actually cutting the nose to spite the face, because the very political party that you might not like might actually end up giving you a mayor because you decided not to vote, you decided not to empower whichever the party that you think had the proper idealists who can take you forward. So young people must vote, because in South Africa at the moment we don't have another system in which we appoint our legislators. The only system that we appoint our legislators now is through the voting process. because it's what was agreed upon during the 1994-1996 period of the reconstitution of our constitution, or the rebuilding of our constitution. So we agreed that voting will be the only process in which we can appoint our government. So it's not wise for our young people to stay out of that process.
Political activities.
Yeah, and also lastly, because I'm a member of the ANC, I'm a leader of the ANC Youth League. If it was according to me, I think before an organization makes it to the ballot, the IEC must look at the extent to which this party has got internal conferences. Because you find political parties or even organizations that are on the ballot, but they have got no accountability outside of government. At least the ANC, with all of its flaws, it goes to conference every 5 years. In the province, it goes to conference every 4 years. To review its progress, to change leadership, to relook into the extent and the progress of their policies. But you find other movements that don't even go to conferences. They chop and change leadership over cell phones. You cannot have such an instability and such organizations leading, because outside of your responsibility in government, where else are you held accountable? The ANC, at least we can go to conference and hold Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa accountable. They say, but Chief, this GNU did this and this. The entire NEC, you gave us GNU. This is what you've done. This is what has failed. We can keep them accountable outside of what government might be keeping them accountable. But what about other political formations? So as and when we choose leadership, we also need to look into these things. And also young people, as I'm encouraging them to vote, I'm also encouraging them to take up membership in this political party, so that they also have the ability to can ask questions internally in the different political parties to can influence what happens in society.
Yeah, you say, when are you coming back?
I think we will talk about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys control who comes in and out of the studio. Well, this is this is the dictator type of a podcast. So I control who comes and who goes. So we'll be having tea very soon back on the studio before the festive season, before the conference in Limpopo commences. So thank you so much for coming, my brother. If you enjoy, if you disagree ideologically, spiritually, mentally, tribalistically, go on the comment section respectfully so, and tell us why you agree or disagree. But I think there's so many things that were said there. If you are listening, I'm sure there's so many things that you can agree with. T, thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you very soon.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Hey, tada.